From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big day here on Home LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. We have a lot of breaking news with a new $6,500 check that went out. It's a new add-on to the fourth stimulus announced by the president on March 31st. I have the latest details in today's recording. It's on top of those big $80,000 checks from the Build Back Better? No, from an add-on that went out and became a law as well. Those $80,000 fourth stimulus checks have landed. I'll show you how to get them in today's recording. Plus, those third stimulus MSC checks have landed as well. In today's recording, we're going to go over routing times, how to get these checks, and when they land. We'll go over when that $6,500 check lands, when the $80,000 check lands, and when the MSC check lands. Then we have a preview tonight's evening's LA in prime time. A big broadcast with a lot of breaking news overnight with 6 stimulus and student loan debt forgiveness, 7 stimulus, and the latest details on J-PAL and the potential looming recession. That is this stimulus for your beneficiaries. Then we'll be looking at what the president said about Build Back Better Act. Yes, that is for stimulus. And how that is getting to the finish line as well. It's a big recording. In the second half of today's recording, we go over how to prepare for Easter, just around the corner, and how to get those cookies in line. Oh boy. Don't spill the cookies, because the cookies are coming to you. It's the second half of this recording, and it's Home LA. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, it's a live edition with the routing times of your big stimulus checks. That's the fourth add-on, and that's that new fourth add-on announced in the last 24 hours. And then we're going to go over all the other breaking financial news and when you get these big checks. It's a big day from the shores of Santa Monica, California, with the recessionary, inflationary, and stagflation concerns growing internationally. We have all those details and more. I'm ready. Are you? Let's go to the details, starting right now on Home. And good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Along the coast of Santa Monica, California, very exciting news as a new $6,500 check has now gone out. And I have the latest details on that and the routing times on all the other checks in today's recording. Yes, if you're new to Home LA, this is the tracking informational video that shows you when, where, and how you get those incredible checks. In the second half of this video, we have the big, exciting details of Easter looming as well. Let's go over where we are right now. There's currently 3 different checks that are landing, and they are incredible. They're very different, and I'm going to show you how to get them. I'm also going to show you the routing times. First, let's go over the breaking news. It happened March 31st, 2022, as the president announced a new check has landed. That check is $6,500. It's a stimulus check, and the eligibility is incredible. The eligibility is much like third stimulus. Single individual, $75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less annual income, you can get it as well. How much is it? It's an exact $6,500, but here's a catch. In some jurisdictions I looked at overnight, it's growing to $12,000. What's the last eligibility? That you own a home. Wow, it's incredible. This $6,500 stimulus check is a 4 stimulus add-on. And let's explain why this is an add-on. It surprised me, but it shouldn't surprise you if you remember, because it was featured in the newsletter the first night it was announced by the President of the United States, March 31st, 2022. It was supposed to be in the Build Back Better Act. In fact, it's still in there, but he did not wait around. The comment first came from his Economic Council member, Brian Deasy, and then came from the President of the United States from his own words on March 31st. It is to weatherize your home. Yes, $6,500 checks to weatherize your home. What is weatherize your home? That is to sustain anything that comes from weather, like wind, hurricanes, rain, tornadoes, fire. If you have any of those situations in your home, you can get the $6,500 check. And where is it? If you become a member, you get in the newsletter. The membership link's at the top of the chat in the pinned comment. Become a member and open that membership newsletter, because right in there now is that new add-on. This is how this channel works. As soon as a check is announced, I feature it for you. Where do you get this check? You have to reach out to your local jurisdiction to get this check. Now, let's explain this in a little bit more detail. Who administers the check? Your state. This is state by state, number one. Number two, every state? Absolutely. Number three, is it first come, first serve? It is, but let me make this clear. At the time of this recording, it looks like it's unlimited funds. It does not look like they can't give you the money. It doesn't look like the next check coming up in the latest video where they can run out of funds. And yes, in some jurisdictions that I saw overnight, that they actually increased the amount a little bit higher, $12,000. Incredible. So become a member. That link's at the top of the chat and pin comment to get that big $6,500 check. Homeowners, if you make less than $75,000, single individual, married couple, and then if you're on benefits, you can get as well SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits. The routing times is about a week to 2 weeks after you get approved. Incredible. The second check that is paying out right now is also a forced stimulus add-on. It is $15,000 to $80,000 of checks, and those incredible money is available again from Joe Biden. It's law. And this money was established no less than 5 weeks ago. The President of the United States made this law after he saw that Build Back Better Act was still not a law. And the President made this law. This is $15,000 to $80,000 checks. And how do you get it? Again, become a member. Go to the top of the chat and pin comment. The $15,000 to $80,000, what do you need to know? First, it is for single individuals, $75,000 or less, same eligibility. Married couple, $150,000 less, same eligibility. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, you can get it as well. And again, it is also for a homeowner. This time, this is another pot of money. So can you get that $6,500 and this $15,000 to $80,000? Absolutely. And that was announced by the president, buried in a statement 5 weeks ago today. It was not covered broadcast media, print media. This is why this is channel's #1 financial news. It has gone out. And the viewers of this channel have gotten it. So what's the routing time on this check? The routing time on this check is about 1 week at the time of today's recording. It's been live for about 5 weeks. But as time goes on, it's going to have a slower routing time because more people have gotten their applications on file. Again, this is $15,000 to $80,000. First, let's go over what we need to know. Is this a grant? It is a grant. What about the $6,500? Was that a grant? It's also a grant. Then, does that mean you have to repay it back? No. Does it mean it's income? No. Does it mean it's taxable? No. Does it mean you have to do a credit check? No, it's not a loan. Wow, that's incredible. So $6,500 checks, yes, and $15,000 to $80,000 checks, yes, on top of that. Law, yes. Landing, yes. Go get it. And how do you get it? Go to the top of the chat. Become a member. The membership benefits is that when something becomes law, you have it right away before anyone else. And let's make this very clear that the $6,500 was literally dropped in 1 to 2 sentences during a press briefings by the President of the United States 2 days ago. March 30th and March 31st, then confirmed by Brian Deasy on March 31st. It was literally that small of an announcement. So then I immediately scurried the internet. I immediately looked high and low to find where you get this money because that's my job, to get you these checks. And I found it. And I immediately put it into the membership newsletter. The same night it was announced, that $6,500 check. The same thing for the $15,000 to $80,000 checks now live for 5 months. That's the benefit of become a member. So go to the top of the chat and pin comment, become a member. Get that incredible newsletter. How is it delivered? It's delivered by the YouTube alert system Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. What is the YouTube alert system? It's the alert system of YouTube that sends you the messages when an alert happens. So to make sure you have all your alerts turned on, go to the front of this channel, turn all alerts on by hitting that bell and set it to all. And then watch for that newsletter that comes Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Wow, incredible, great news. The third check that is landing as well is the third stimulus MSC check. Wow. Now, let's take it back a notch. Third stimulus became a law last year. You got a $1,400 stimulus check probably, and you're hearing another MSC, but I already got a stimulus check for third stimulus. This is an addition to it. And where do you get these checks? And where are they? And how much are they? Let's go over the details right now. It is on average $2,000 a month for 12 months. Wow, that is a lot. It is a lot. It's more than anything forced stimulus proposes. This is law. It became a law last year. And what is this money for? As one viewer last night became a member during the Evening Delight broadcast and then immediately asked, is this for rent and utilities and mortgage assistance? I'm like, that is why you became a member. You know this so well. Absolutely. It is for renters and homeowners. For renters, it is your rent. It is also your utilities, all your utilities. And then for homeowners, it is your utilities and your mortgage assistance. So where do you get this money as well? Reach out to get that membership newsletter. But if you are not a member, follow along right now. You're going to reach out to the following 6 places. Your city hall, your city house authority. Your county hall, your county house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. 3 things you must do. You must reach out to all 6 places. You must get multiple applications file, and you must move quickly. Now, if you're a member and you open that membership newsletter, guess what? You got a benefit to this, an extra bonus. You have at least another 6 nonprofits featured in the membership newsletter. And those nonprofits also pick up for these monies. Wow. Yes, the average view of this channel is getting 12 months. Yes, it's getting on average $2,000. And this is everyone. SSI, SSDI, Social Security Railroad benefits. I've had one SSI viewer in the last 7 days get $60,000+. Did you hear me right? Yes, an SSI, SSDI viewer who is a renter getting $60,000. I had another viewer, Olivia, who got $150,000, and she's not even a member. She listened to all the recordings because I cover everything in the recordings. So there you are. Those are the 3 things paying out right now. What are the rounding times on the MSC check? Once you get approved, it comes every single month. And the approval time is usually about a 1-week turnaround time for each item. But you want to push and get each item approved. Now let's go over the other breaking news across the board. And what is the rounding time on those? Now let's look at each of them one at a time. Build Back Better Act got a new push in the last 24 hours. And I'll have it tonight on Evenings LA at prime time at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. It is the March number on jobs released early this morning. All that latest number and what it said across the board. It gives new support for the Build Back Better Act. Then we also have the new data on the mortgage industry, the housing industry, and the latest comments from Joe Manchin in the last 7 days, all signaling that Build Back Better Act has a push. Build Back Better, law, not law. Paying checks yet? Not paying checks. But those add-ons we just went over, they are paying checks. The next thing that's heating up is that CR. Let me go over something that happened on that CR overnight. Wow, this is fascinating. So remember how I said the President of the United States had a CR back a month ago? Got county stimulus in there. And that county stimulus available in many counties across the country. I also said the president did not get his COVID money in that CR and was going to come back and ask for money for COVID. And that potentially you could have a stimulus check in there as well. Well, overnight, Mitt Romney and Chuck Schumer, on behalf of the Republicans and Democrats, made a deal on an additional spending for COVID as a subvariant for Omicron is spreading across the country. Did it have stimulus in there? It did not. Now, it is not law yet, but we'll be tracking it over the next few days. That's breaking news that happened overnight. Then, what about that SS300? This is what is likely to be the most important thing to be done next. Why? There's a series of new reports today that I subscribe to, I agree with, that most analysts now believe that over the next 2 FOMC meetings of Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve, that he's not going to do a 1/4 basis point, he's going to do a 1/2 basis point. Yes, Wall Street analysts are now expecting that Jay Powell will have 2 1/2 basis point increases over the next FOMC meetings, which is going to be much more aggressive and could potentially bring inflation down to 6%, 5%, from where it's tracking right now, 8%. We had the consumer price expenditure number that released yesterday on the 31st, and that number showed an increase, 5.4%, the highest increase in 40 years. So this is all real hot data. But here's what's also an issue, and you're going to hear more about this tonight on Evenings LATE, and of course the brand new Afternoons LATE show at 3 o'clock. There's a lot of new analysis today, which I also agree with, that says this administration and Jay Powell is going to have to choose between 2 things. Do you want inflation or do you want recession? And they're likely going to choose recession. Yeah. So with that, they're bringing down that inflation. You want to swap that color for inflation right now because inflation's coming down quickly. They are choosing recession over inflation. You cannot have the 2 apples and have your cake at the same time. Wow, what an incredible day we have with that. And we're just getting started. Let's go over the other breaking news as well. 6 stimulus. And that 6 stimulus was to start in early April, what are we looking for? We're looking for whether Macron is reelected in France. And what is six stimulus? One of the largest stimulus packages we've seen of a generation. Now, why am I a little bit antsy about six stimulus? I'm antsy about six stimulus because the President of the United States on March 31st announced a new oil deal. The deal with Iran? No. What happened to that deal with Iran? It fell apart. What? Yes, let's go over the details. Six stimulus is to solve this country from going into recession. I just told you we're either lowering inflation or we're going into recession. So we're lowering inflation, so that means we're going into recession, right? So shouldn't we be fixing the economy so we don't go into recession? Yes, that's the purpose of six stimulus. The trifecta, Germany, France, and the United States. That trifecta may have gotten a little bit at edge over the last 4 days because Germany says, we're not getting off of Russian oil. Excuse me? You were supposed to get off of Russian oil. Well, it's likely because, in my opinion, that Iranian deal with the United States fell apart, and you don't hear the announcement from the White House saying it fell apart. I'm announcing it too as well. The comment comes from EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell, who said that everyone was watching the United States get that deal with Iran to flood the U.S. market and international markets with 1.5 million barrels of gasoline from Iran by the end of this year and 500,000 as early as this month. The deal was solidified by Germany and France negotiating on behalf of the United States in Vienna over recent days with Iran. And the deal looked like it was finished. This was going to be a big one for us, a huge one, because our gasoline prices would drop the lowest price of a generation in April because the Iranian deal was to remove their nuclear warheads and then remove their embargo and then flood our markets internationally with their gasoline. So why did the deal fall apart, or did it? The analysis from that EU head says that it looked like we were at the edge and then suddenly we weren't at the edge. Joseph Borrell, again, the EU foreign policy says the JCPOA, which is the deal, is not getting to an end. It would be a shame not to reach some sort of agreement. I cannot guarantee that we'll reach agreement. So this is huge. I believe that the oil traders understood that the deal was falling apart. That is why the oil prices are surging to 120. That is why the President of the United States on March 31st announced an oil idea. Now, here's what I said about that oil idea. It don't work. The oil idea is to release 1 million barrels per day from the United States strategic reserves to bring down the price of gasoline in the United States. Guess what? It doesn't work. Why does it not work? Because you have to have your partner allies release their oil as well. If only the United States releases its strategic reserves, then the international price of gasoline doesn't go down, nor does the price of gasoline domestically, because it's how much gasoline is available internationally, not just in the United States. So let's look at the situation. If you have 20 countries, and only one country releases gasoline, then you're still missing extra barrels of gasoline from Germany, France, and all those other countries. Here's what's problem. Italy has no strategic reserves. It has nothing to release. Nor does France and Germany have enough to flood the market. So if no one else can flood the market with gasoline like the United States can, it doesn't come down the price of gasoline. The idea for the President of the United States, I don't think it works. And there you go. So I don't think without the Iranian deal, the price of gasoline is going down. So then let's go back to six stimulus. When would six stimulus heat up? Six stimulus would heat up this month, and it needs to get done because of two reasons. One, the price of gasoline is not sustainable at the current levels through the month of May. Let's make very clear, all analysts who heard the president's comments on March 31st said, whatever the president thinks he can do, he can't get that done till later this year. No one in this economy can sustain $4 a gallon at the pump through the month of May or we go into recession. More about that in a second. And no one can afford $7 a loaf of bread at the supermarket through the month of May or we go into recession. More about that in a second. Well, that's where we're going because there is no solution at hand. And guess what? April 4th is just a few days away. We're likely to see if Vladimir Putin defaults on a $2 billion principal repayment. I think, in my opinion, my analysis, that if Vladimir Putin defaults on April 4th, you're going to see a major movement on six stimulus like you've never seen before, because that is when we're likely to see who he's defaulting on. He's not defaulting on amorphic people. We're going to find out if U.S. banks had some of those investments that Vladimir Putin is unable to pay out. And there you go. Wow. I'll have more about the analysis in the second half of this video. But also in the second half of this video is the exciting details of Countdown to Easter. Did you ever think about what cookies are appropriate for Easter? If you didn't, we're going to do it together. It's coming up in the second half of this video. And if you're new to Home LALATE, it's the show in which I get into the live chat and I answer your questions about anything you want to ask about. Is the Easter Bunny real? When are those checks landing? Which one is law? Which one is not law? What about Bill Back? What about those $15,000 to $80,000 of checks? Any questions you have, I'm ready here to answer. We got a big day, and we got a big preview coming up the second half of this big evening's LA and that afternoon's LA. Oh boy, we got a big show today. But first, here's a little bit of the members community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds with all the deliciousness of Easter cookies and all the deliciousness of stimulus. It's a big day, and for the shores of Santa Monica, California, see you back in 60 seconds. Drop your questions and comments during the commercial break. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues in the big second half of the big Home LALATE edition. Boy, we got a big second half with big money and also big cookies. It's Easter. And we'll be looking at all those issues at hand with those other items coming in April and May. Plus that student loan debt forgiveness, we haven't forgotten that. That's coming up in this big second half. But first, let's go back over where we are right today at today's recording for April 2022. 3 different checks are now landing, but you need to make the effort to get them. The first one is a $6,500 stimulus check. It's a 4 stimulus add-on, and it's law, and it's paying out $6,500, and you can get it. The second one is the $15,000 to $80,000 of a stimulus check. It's also law. It's a 4 stimulus add-on as well, and you need to push and get it. And the third one is that MSC, that monthly stimulus check from Third Stimulus, and it's paying out an average of $2,000 a month for 12 months. Now let's compare and contrast among the 3 items what you need to know. Number 1, they're all featured in the membership newsletter. So if you become a member, you get that information Monday through Friday. The membership newsletter is delivered via the YouTube alert system, not via email or waivable check or waivable lobsters. Number 2, it's important to understand that when you're talking about the $15,000 to $80,000 checks, it's an application. It's a link, and you go right in apply, and you want to apply really quickly. It's featured in the membership newsletter. It's called the Homeowners Grant, and it's $15,000 to $80,000 for purposes of recording. I call it the Homeowners Grant. In that membership newsletter, you're going to see the complete name. Then you're going to see what it pays for, and then you're going to see the link. You're going to click the link and go right into it. And then it's going to route you to state. You want to pounce and get this $15,000 to $80,000 check right now. Also in the membership newsletter is the brand new $6,500 check. Now let's recap. The $15,000 to $80,000 has been live for 5 weeks, so you want to move very quickly. If you're not a member, you want to become one right now. The $6,500 check became a law last night, March 31st. Well, the 30th, approximately last night. And this is huge. This is a little bit different. For this one, we don't, at the time of today's recording, have one website for everyone. Let me explain. As soon as the president announced the $6,500 check, I looked high and low to even find where it is. This $6,500 check is basically the weatherizing your home check. And in this one, there's not one central website link for this one. So what did I do for you? What I did for you is in the membership newsletter, I give you the link to the website that then has the individual states in there. And then inside the individual states, you want to look for the weatherizing grant. And it's actually listed. So you're going to see something like Alabama weatherizing grant, California weatherizing grant, Florida weatherizing grant. It's available everywhere, and that will route you thereafter. If the White House rolls out a one-shop-all link, I will include in the membership newsletter. But I want to immediately give that to you in that information as soon as it's announced on the 31st. There you go. Finally, the MSC checks, those monthly stimulus checks, $2,000 a month, averaging for 12 months. That is not an online website. That involves you picking up the phone and calling, making the phone call for that one. Yes, you're going to reach out and make those phone calls. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. And the keyword you're going to say, yes, you got to do that. There you go. You can do it. And again, those routing times are the following. For the $6,500, about 1 week turnaround time. The $15,000 to $80,000, currently 1 week routing time. And those MSC checks, just a few days after you're approved, you generally get funded, and then it lands every single month thereafter. Then, the 7th stimulus, the student loan debt forgiveness. Yes, this has a May 2nd date. The President of the United States set that date. Why? Because your student loan debts are a moratorium for repayment, and we're going to see whether the president makes the determination to forgive them or not. How do we know that? Because his chief of staff, Ron Klain, said it. Ron Klain said that Joe Biden will make the determination whether to forgive student loan debt by May 2nd or extend the moratorium to repay them. So there we go. We have a date on that student loan 7 stimulus. That is May 2nd. We also have an inherent deadline for 6 stimulus, early April. But it's nothing etched in stone. It's both an international 6 stimulus, a national stimulus, 6 stimulus, and some states may do it as well. I won't be tracking the states here on this channel. But that is for 6 stimulus. Then, Build Back Better Act, getting a new push from Joe Manchin saying he's ready to get it done. That could potentially happen in April, but we don't have a date for that across the board just yet. And with that, it's time for Easter, almost. Oh boy, you're ready? The Easter bunny has been hanging out with sirloin, so... And with Easter, what's better way to eat than with some wonderful cookies? One of the things when buying cookies for Easter is the question of assorted or not assorted. If you're on the live chat right now, write whether you prefer assorted cookies or non-assorted cookies. I'm generally a person who likes non-assorted because I'm particularly particular about the type of cookie I like. And so I may not like an assortment because I may not like most of the cookies in there. It's sort of like mixed nuts. You don't want the almonds, but you want the cashews. But in the case of assorted cookies, I think you should give it a notch. I think you should give it a try. Here's an example of assorted cookies, which I recently got here in Los Angeles. It looked on the outside sort of good. It didn't have a lot of curb appeal, I guess you would say. It just sort of looked good. The colors were very different. They did look very assorted. But here's one thing I want to tell you about, and this is why it's important. You see the prices here outside the screen. Here's one thing I want to tell you is that if you look at the colors of the assortment, they all looked about the same color. So I assumed it was going to be basically a version of the same cookie. You know how many times you go to a bakery and then every Danish just sort of tastes like the same version of the next Danish, and they just put something different on top of it? When you look at assorted cookies in a box and they all sort of look the same color, you say, well, it's just sort of the same cookie. It just all sort of tastes, it's going to taste the same. And then you open it up and you taste it and you're like, no, they are very different cookies. And that's what happened in the case of this assorted box. And while this one's closed, I have another one on set that's open. What happened in this assorted cookie box for Easter is that the cookies may look very similar, but taste dramatically different. What I implore you to do is that when you're buying cookies, whether imported internationally, like an Amazon or a Walmart importing internationally, or bought locally like a fresh-made box of cookies, as I have in front of me right here, don't assume that because they look the same, that they have the same flavor. In some cases, the baker doesn't put the effort to make it look inherently different, but does taste very different. Let's give an example. In this box of cookies, we have some cookies like this one and this one that may look the same, or actually this one and this one looking very similar. I mean, they're almost the exact same color. They look almost like mere complete copies of each other. And guess what? They taste nothing the same. They don't even taste the same. The only thing that looks similar is the color and the shape. Here's what you need to know is that when you're buying those cookies for that Easter weekend or for that Easter celebration, give yourself some time. Give yourself some time. If you're at a bakery you're new to, make a ask at the cash register. Are all these the same? How assorted are they? What are the flavors? Don't be afraid to ask. Or simply just grab a box and take the dive. Take the dive and live vicariously by doing assortedness. Because when you do assortedness, then sometimes you're doing something outside your comfort level. Let's jump in the live chat and see what people are saying right now. Here's Paula. I love super soft cookies with that yummy frosting on top. There's Anne. With mixed nuts, I eat the almonds first, then the pecans, then the cashews less. I'm very meticulous that way. So we have an inversion. I prefer the cashews and I do not like the almonds. So I'll leave the almonds last as compared to Anne. Here is Tyrell. I love assorted cookies, but not assorted chocolates. Wow, that is fascinating. There's Paula says, I agree with you, Adelaide. Mario Wellington became a member. Congratulations, Mario, for becoming a new member. Dragon would look better if it was watermelon. I'm not a cookie fan. I just think I got busted. I'm really not a fan at all of the cookie. So, cookie hater in the room. Just kidding, Dragon. I use the basic Christmas cookies, says Lorraine. Cookie recipe, except when it's Easter. Cookie cutter with the frostings and decorations. Joanne, I forgot, I mentioned I like the deviled eggs and the assorted cookies. Wow, that sounds incredible, doesn't it? It really just sounds great. Then my favorite is frosting on those sugar cookies, says Anne. And then Dragon says what looks better is often is the watermelon. Donnie says macaroons are awesome as well. They are awesome. Great comments across the board. Here's what you need to know, and let's get some analysis today. There's a lot of financial data floating around at the moment, and the financial data may seem overwhelming for a lot of people. But what I do on this channel is I break it down to make it simple for you. And tonight's Evenings at LALATE and Afternoons at LALATE, I break it down a lot. There's a lot of economic data out there, and let me give you a summary of it where it is right now, so you prepare accordingly. First, the housing market. The housing market, in my opinion, is in a bubble. It's in a bubble and it's about to burst and it's about to go into recession or is already in recession. Why? A series of new reports say that the housing market is unsustainable and the fundamentals of the housing market are upside down. Why? They say the price escalation is too high when the cost is actually worse. So we have a couple of issues. First, you want to go build a house, you cannot make the type of profit you could before because the products are too high in supply and that's driving up the cost. And so your profit margin is lower. Second, it's hard to sell the house because the mortgage industry is at its 40-year high. No one can afford a 5% mortgage rate and you're seeing home starts go down for 4 consecutive months. Takeaway, I believe the housing market is in a recession right now. Many analysts believe it's at least in stagflation. I think it's in recession right now. Others say it's about to burst and it's going to be the worst housing bubble burst since the 1990s. Ouch. Do I think it's going to be as bad as 1997? I don't know yet. I really don't know yet. But I think that if the consumer short-sightedness of this market continues, it will be. More about that in a second. Next, when you look at your products, gasoline, milk, eggs, are they going to get worse? I think they are going to get worse. I think they are going to get worse. There's nothing to bring down the price of gasoline currently in the United States. I don't think the president's plan for gasoline is going to get it down. A lot of analysts says the president's plan is not going to even work till later this year. I don't agree with that. I think it will help, but I think it's going to take a long time, and I don't think it's enough, and I don't think it's going to bring it down much. So when would you likely see gasoline come down just based upon what Joe Biden announced in the last 24 hours? Maybe 6 months. Ouch. Yeah. So I don't see it coming down. Would it get worse? I think it would get worse. I think it would get worse. I think that the lack of dealing on the situation is going to make it actually get more entangled. Number two is anything else in the sixth stimulus, the oil, the commodities actually going to get impaired more? I think yes. Here's my part of the analysis. If you're a farmer and you're growing a crop and you know there's a shortage of wheat, grain, and corn being provided internationally because of the Ukrainian-Russian war, then you can drive the price up, and you will drive the price up. And while you say maybe Americans won't do that against Americans, well, other countries are going to do it against someone. So someone's going to drive the price up. Here's what they're also going to do. They're going to drive the price up, and if anyone questions them, they're going to say, hey, I got that tractor trailer and the gasoline price is going through the roof. So don't complain to me. I got to drive that tractor trailer and the gasoline is going through the roof and the fertilizer is going through the roof. So I have to charge you more. So this may be sounding a very unpopular opinion. I think the U.S. farmers are going to start to raise their prices even more and say, don't think I'm price gouging you. I have to make a profit. I'm about to lose a profit because I can't drive the tractor trailer and I can't fertilize the ground. And I think they will do it. Next, the Vladimir Putin default is really one of the things that I'm very scared about. That April 4th potential default of $4 billion of principal repayment is so scary because we do not know the exposure of our U.S. banks to that. So that is something that is very, very entangled. And until we see that, I don't know. I'm equally deeply concerned about these comments from Germany this week. Now, let's take it back a notch, because I've not explained this on this channel before, so I'm going to explain it for the first time right now. Germany has traditionally not subscribed to our beliefs on how to deal with economic conditions like the current environment in 2020, in 2021, in 2019. To think that Germany is green to sick stimulus in the way in which has been described on this channel in recent weeks, or now 2 months of the Putin invasion of Ukraine, is a major improvement for German economic policy we've never seen in nearly 5-6 years. And then, middle of this week, it went back to its old ways. So let me explain to you. When you hear me telling you that Germany's saying, you know what, we're staying with Russian oil. You know what, we're not doing all this. We're staying the way we are. Let me make that clear. That is not changing their philosophy. That always was their philosophy. They only subscribe to our philosophy because Anthony Blinken, your Secretary of State, really pushed to get them off of those Russian products day one of the invasion. And for 1.5 months, they said yes. And then the last few days, they said, no, we like how we've done things for a long time. There you go. The spread of this subvariant of Omicron is not going to send us on lockdown, but I think that the situation has not been embedded its risk into the markets. I think it is a very serious issue. And here's what I also say, is that we really don't know how many people in this economy are really triple vaccinated. We don't know how many Americans are really well triple vaccinated. And if they're double vaccinated, they're not going to sustain this subvariant to Omicron. And with that, that is an inherent risk. We also have the economic data that came in today. I'm going to feature today on Afternoons LALATE. And also we have the data that came in a few days earlier. First, the non-farm payrolls came in just a few minutes ago for the month of March. And they were a miss. Ouch. 431, way below the miss of the expected 490. February's up rate of 750%. Unemployment declined to 3.6, below expectations. And then 1.7 million new jobs added. Let me tell you what in that data I think is very important, is the unemployment number. The unemployment number improved, so less people were unemployed. It went down 3%, but that was a miss. They thought the number was going to be better. I think this is troubling data for this economy. Again, this is recessionary numbers. Why? Because I had the numbers for you the day before, and the day before it showed that the number of new unemployment claims for the month of February grew to, I believe it was 220. I'll have the number on tonight on Amy's Alley. I think it was 220. And that was the highest unemployment number I've recorded on this channel since the end of what we understand as COVID of 2020. Let's understand, before we went into COVID, it was about 200,000 new unemployment claims per week. Then shot up to 1 million, 1.5. Then it came down very, very low. And throughout much of 2022, it was below 200. Now it's surging back up. And I think this is troubling. Then today we have the data that says the unemployment numbers are not as good as we expected. Here's what you need to know. If you're without a job, things cost more to buy, like milk, eggs, and gas. The salaries have not gone up. The business you work for is not making more money because of stagflation. The housing market is going upside down. The yield inversion curve is going upside down. The recessionary pressures are really in front of us. Does this look good? It doesn't look good. People often say, oh, there's a lot of saved up consumer savings. I don't buy it. There's a lot of saved up stimulus. People just have it all saved up. They're all really good. I don't buy it. How about the car purchases? You want to go over that data? That was released in the last 24 hours. The number of people buying cars plummeted. Last year, you saw everyone and their sister and brother buying a new car. Every single person was buying a new car. Now, no one's buying a new car. Why? Perhaps the same reason, because they do not have money saved up. And this is why these recessionary pressures are deeply concerning. Finally, my takeaway. Inflation or recession will be one or the other? I think yes. I think Jay Powell will get inflation down. I don't even think he's going to get down to 1.9%. I think he will get it down maybe into the 5s and 4s, and then after that, that's all he's going to be able to get it down to. But I think that is going to send us into recession. I think that inflation may already be higher than 8%, maybe 8.5, and he brings it down too fast, which I think he's going to do. I think he's going to bring it down too fast. We are really, really clear. Now, finally, and I don't want to scare you, but I got to tell you, go into recession or are in recession. In my opinion, some parts of this economy are already in recession. Yes, I believe some parts of the economy already are in recession. And you're not going to see that economic data, perhaps not to 30 to 60 days out, but I believe some parts of the economy are already in recession. If you've not endured a recession in the United States because maybe you're too young and you're watching this video, let me explain how recessions happen. They happen geographically, traditionally. The last recession of the 1990s, the East Coast went into it first. The West Coast went into it last. The East Coast came out of it first and the West Coast came out of it last. How long was the delay? It was a lot, folks. It was about 6 months where the East Coast was deeply in recession and the West Coast looked totally fine. And then the West Coast 6 months later went into it. And guess what? Coming out of it, it was totally different. What happened in that recession? And in that recession, there were hiring freezes everywhere. No one was hiring anyone. You talk about right now, hard to hire employees. I think it's going to flip. Where it's not going to be, you can't get anyone to work. You're going to find that no one has a job because the businesses are not going to be having that profit, that growth. And remember that a lot of these businesses have not had a full 2 years of great numbers. They had that lockdown of 2020 and 2021, and they've not had a good 2 years of economic numbers, of revenue numbers. And there you are. Sorry, I guess maybe I should stay with the assorted cookies. I think it's time for a cookie after all that. Join me next on Afternoons LA. It's the 1 o'clock show today. And then we have a brand new afternoon show at 3 o'clock. Oh boy, is it a big one. Then we go into Evenings LA at prime time at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. It's a huge show and you don't want to miss it. Stay with me all weekend long because we'll have a lot of breaking news across the board that you don't want to miss. But for now, get that $600 stimulus check and get that $6,500 stimulus check and get that $15,000 to $80,000 stimulus check and get those MSCs, become a member, stay here and stay informed, and see you next on Afternoons LALATE.